Hello and welcome. This is your coach Keya, and I'm here with one of my besties, Tami Castillo. We have been working together for 3 months, kind of, and it feels like 3 lifetimes or 30 lifetimes. And she is, I don't know what to say, a badass coach. Basically, she helps her clients unleash their inner brilliance. So that is my introduction for my peer coach, Tami. We are peer coaches, and I will ask Tami to introduce herself in her own words because this is a show which is all about happiness. These are raw and real, unfiltered, unedited conversations about being at crossroads in our lives. So if that is where you are, get a cup of tea or a good drink and settle in for this conversation. It's going to get really personal over here.
Hello, hello. Oh my goodness, Coach Keya. I am so grateful, so blessed, and just so happy to be here. As Coach Keya said, I am Tami Castillo. I'm the owner of TRC Coaching. Be on the lookout. I am actually in the process of changing the name of my company because we are growing, expanding, doing some different things. So some good things coming there. So just be on the lookout there. But right now, we are TRC Coaching, and I empower high achieving women who know, like they know, like they know, like they know that they are made for more. And so I help them to harmonize their work and personal life and unleash their inner badass so that they can fearlessly chase their dreams, bringing those dreams from dreams into reality. So yeah, Coach Keya, that's what I do. Um, who I work with, those high achieving women who just really know, they have that inner knowing that there's something more. God created them for more.
Mm-hmm. You said quite a few brilliant words that I heard, or phrases too. You talked about change, how you are evolving, how you are stepping up, how you are showing up in a more empowered way so you can hold space for your clients. That's what I heard you say. I also heard you say the word change, and change, everyone wants change. Obama's ticket was change. He changed over 8 years. So I always love to throw that in. But change is the constant in life. No one escapes change. Yet change is a scary thing. I want change. I want things to change, but do I have to do the work to change? So before we share with our audience here how they can feel safe in this dimension of change, how did you go through your transformation? How did you get started being this beautiful, badass coach? Man, I love that word. I might steal it someday. And tell us a little bit about you.
Well, you are a badass, so you don't even have to steal it. You can go ahead and just own it because it is already a part of you and who you are. So
All right.
I invite you to claim it and take it and run with it. Oh, I'm going to take a deep breath. So you're absolutely right. Change, it happens. However, stepping into that positive change, into what I like to say, I hear a lot about, oh, reinventing ourselves and becoming, and I have a little bit of different philosophy than reinvent ourselves. I feel like we often are constantly reinventing ourselves because of things that have happened to us, things that are said to us, and reinventing ourselves away from who we were created to be in order to conform or to become something that we think we need to fit in. And so I really help my clients, and I try and my kind of philosophy is more about becoming, kind of tapping back into who we really already are. But I'll tell you, that was me. Like, I was reinventing. I was that high achieving woman. I started off very challenged childhood, had to become overly responsible at a super duper early age, which created very controlling, very and overly independent. Like, I wore independence like a badge. And I succeeded. Like, on paper, things looked fabulous. I was probably still, I'm a little super type A, and high achieving at all the things, right? Do more, do more, do more, do more. And sought a lot of my validation outside of myself. The more I promoted, the higher rank I had, the more money I made. That, and I will always be super transparent with you. It felt really good. It felt good to be recognized for those. It felt good because that's how I was validating, right? Oh, I'm good. I'm worthy. And then in a course of about 2.5 years, I had 7 really super close family members pass away. And 2 of them were my parents, who were in their early 50s. And I was in my 30s then. And the world, God, the universe, for me it's God. I respect how everyone believes, but I believe that God will shake things up for us when we are really not aligned and not stepping into the way that we were created. And so he really rocked my world. And because I wasn't paying attention, I was just running, doing my own thing. And right at that same time, I read this scripture that talked about how God has a time for us. We're here on earth and he gets to decide when we leave. However, it also said that our foolishness can take us out early, that it could shorten the days that he gave us. So he gives us his time, but if we're foolish with it, we could shorten it. And it literally, like, just was like this huge wake up, this huge light bulb, like somebody just took me and shook me so hard, because all these things, like working 60, 80 hours a week, I was traveling with my job, so I'm eating like the crappiest food you can imagine, takeout food every day. Coach Keya, I would literally take my computer home, not home. See, I was living in a hotel so much, like that was home. I would take my computer to the hotel and keep it by my bed so that at 1, 2, 3 in the morning, I could just grab it and start sending emails. And my staff, they would laugh. They're like, ma'am, why did I get an email from you at 2 in the morning? Why did I get it? Because like I was always on, right? Always on, always on. I was more than 50 pounds overweight. I was disconnected from my family. At one point, like, I taught at church. We would go to church together. I wasn't even at home. I would be gone 6 months at a time, 4 months at a time. Girlfriend, like, you are like one of my dearest. And you even had said, like, we haven't known each other that long, but like, you hold my heart. It didn't have connections like that. I didn't. And so losing these family members all in this short time, and then reading this verse, God started speaking to me. This is a gift. Every breath you have is a gift. And yeah, I have you a time. I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's a secret. But what if all this foolishness is shortening that? And I know that's a long story, Coach Keya, but that really was such a shake for me, such a wake up call, that I literally told myself, like, something has to change. And it wasn't, because you're right, things were changing every day. But I had to have an intentional change. I had to start having change that led me back to that badass that God created me to be, that led me back to being and doing things, that made me feel good, that made me feel happy, that made me feel connected. I was still I can high achieve, I can do all the things, but am I doing those things in honor of what I was created to do? And I wasn't. And so today, I don't have to seek outside for validation. It don't matter. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like what I'm doing. It's okay. I can send you off in love. And it doesn't even hurt my feelings anymore. Well, sometimes my feelings get hurt. That might be a little lot. But I can release that now. I have beauties like you that I can go to. I have tools. I know now that that's not, I don't have to perform to be worthy, to be loved. But it really, I'm sad to say, it took like a big event, a big traumatic event, and God really saying, girl, you can, if you keep these foolish ways up, I can take you out. And that was the thing. That was the thing that made me step into intentional change versus the change we just sit in every single day.
Mm-hmm. So I am going to step in and backtrack a little bit. What I'm hearing is transformation, because I went through similar process, and I will share that really shortly. So honoring your purpose. And thank you for anointing me today with the badass. 2005, I came to California and I was sitting at a retreat, and I was 39 at that time. And I'm like, oh, I don't even know who I am. I don't know my purpose. I don't know anything, like when you get on your knees. I was in my 30s, right? 39. I mean, that was the tail end of my dark nights of the soul. And this is what came up for me. You are the divine gypsy. Because I used to say, oh, I'm a gypsy, I'm a gypsy, I'm a gypsy, And I'm like, sometimes it sounds like you're a drifter. You're so lost, like you have no clue, right? And the words, it just descended on me. You're the divine gypsy. And I don't need a home. The earth is my home. I don't need a family, because anyone who can connect with me is my family. And if they leave me, fine. If they live with me, fine. And the word came to me, not on that day, but a few years later, family, friends who become family. So it's family. Recently I heard one of my clients say, frenemy, friend who became an enemy. You love to hate and you hate to love state. So for me, that is what it is. And I know that feeling of working with the computer on your bed. Mine is not even on the side of my bed, it is on bed. So I know working those 80-hour weeks. 1999, when I worked as a software engineer, I was a project architect, and we were going through the Y2K. So when 1999 became 2000, people were partying and celebrating and worrying that their water may be shut off and the electricity may be lost.
Yeah.
But people like me, the computers going. And I used to work for ST Microelectronics in Dallas, Texas, and I was making sure the computer showed up in Singapore and in Europe and, in Boston. And I was like watching the computer, like, yep, the
Absolutely.
system is coming up, the system is coming up, the system is coming up. I was pregnant with my youngest, because he was born in February 2000, and I had two other ones at home. And this was my job with this big belly, making sure all the computers are coming up all over the world for ST Microelectronics. Yeah, so I know I used to say like 80-hour weeks. Sometimes, and because you are this whatever hotshot, you don't get overtime or 1.5, nothing. You do it because you're passionate about it and you think this is your karma. This is what you're supposed to do, right?
Absolutely. There was
And
so much pride in that, right? Like, I can do all the things and I can do it all by myself. There was so much pride in that. Yeah.
yes, and I went to a Catholic school and they taught us pride comes before a fall. And I lost my job 2001. My job was gone when the towers came down. I was the easiest one to be, and I was so happy. I'm like, oh, I get to be with my kids now because my baby was 1 year old now. And I'm like, oh, I get to be home now with my kids. But I'm like, but I still want to work. Who am I if I'm so even today, I'm a full-time mom, I'm a full-time entrepreneur. Like everything is full-time, like people say, I'll give you half of this and half of this. And how many halves does one have? It's like that I'm a full-time this and full-time this and full-time this and full-time this. How much of
Yes.
full-time can you do? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I know, yeah, we are on that parallel path. And I'm so glad our paths came together and now we are on, most people I say we are on a similar path. I feel we are on the same path right now. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
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 And being that overweight and then getting into herbal life and been there, done that. It resonates very deeply with me. And intentional change. So it is intentional living, intentional transformation. Because change is so easy. Change is so easy. And I'll tell you how easy it is. If you wear lavender perfume or rose perfume or some floral scent and you walk around, the bees will start chasing you because they think you're the
Yeah.
flower. You have changed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you go take a shower, you're no longer the flower. That does change. But
Absolutely.
transformation is the death of the old and the birth of the new. And that's the work I do.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen. So good.
Right. So good. It is. It
And that takes
is.
participation, right? That takes something, because even if we do nothing and just sit here, we will change. Our bodies will start to die. Our brains will start to give, to give up, right? Like we will lose
Right.
certain things. We don't have to participate a whole lot to change.
Right.
We can do very little and change. We can do a lot and change. There's various degrees, but transformation it really takes participation. It takes being all in. It takes that dedication. It takes that decision. It takes choice.
Choice.
Right?
Yes. And
Yeah, it
that is
takes
something you
choice.
always have. That is something you always have. Because there was a time when I said, I have no choice. Like when you get on your knees and you're so weak. And then I watched the movie Sophie's Choice, and now Sophie had no choice whether she would send her son or her daughter to the incinerator. And movies do program you, TV programming. What's that? That's our subconscious
Everything.
programming. And
Everything.
you get, yeah, and you think like, yeah, I have no choice, but all you have is choice and you have time.
Absolutely.
And when you were talking about that, God can take away the foolish, like I have positive proof of this. Like many times when I, like you, have my own conversations with God, one of the things I know is the human breath. You take 15 to 16 breaths a minute, and if you're very excited, it might go up to 20. But when you're meditating, you can slow your heart rate, you can slow your breath rate, and you can go down to 10, like 12, 10, 8.
Yeah.
You can even go down to 2 breaths a minute. Can you believe it? Scientifically, no oxidation is happening. Your body is still. And that is why when you see meditators, they look so young. Because meditators are looking for God. And those who are smoking pot and doing all the other stuff, other drugs, they're also looking for God, right? They want to block out the outer world and go within and
Go
find their higher
inside.
consciousness. Yeah, that's what they want. But someone who has been doing drugs for 20 years, they look like 40 years older. And someone who has been meditating for 20 years and in this community and with God, they look 20 years younger.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
How do we do this? how do we do this? Like, I'm 57 years old, and like on TikTok or whatever, there are softwares that will tell you your face, or Zyto or something, and they'll be like, oh, you're 47, oh, you're 46, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, look at your face. And I'm like, whatever app, whatever they are trying to see. And people have told me, like, if you just see my face, without anything else, like, it is like an ageless face. And there is no ego about it, because
Yeah.
it's God's life, it's God's choice, it's God's body. However he keeps it, we live. And
Absolutely.
when he says you're done, we leave, right? That's the
That's it.
legacy. And when we can live, and as a Buddhist, I'll tell you, one of the meditations we do is meditation on nothingness. Meditation on nothingness. And recently, Oppenheimer came out, and I loved that movie so much because my background is physics. And so I was like, oh my God, I was crying through the movie for one reason, because I'm like, oh my God, it is so good that something people say, like, oh, I can't understand physics. Oh, nuclear is so bad, But it came back, and you don't have to be a physicist to appreciate this, to really take it. And he really made it quite simplified for people to get it. And we are a human body, a human being. And you were talking about becoming. We will talk about that. I
Being.
love that word, becoming. We are a human being. We are an organism. We are a body
Yes.
filled with organs. And organs have cells in them. Cells have molecules. Molecules have atoms. Atoms have
Atoms.
subatomic particles. So you are nothing more and nothing less than a frequency.
Yeah.
You're vibrating at a certain frequency. So when you feel sad, when you feel angry, when you feel grief, fear, guilt, hurt, shame, pain, doubts, it's just a frequency.
Yeah.
It's just a frequency. And guess what happens? Like attracts like. So whatever
Oh my
frequency you
goodness.
are vibrating at, you will attract them. You will attract that. And that is when choice comes in. And you say, like, I want something different. So if you're at a crossroad where you are challenged in your health, your finances, your career, your relationship, don't go to your friends. Don't go to your family,
Oh,
because you are all vibrating at the same frequency. Your friends will flatter you, and you'll be like, oh, and suddenly it is someone else's fault and not your fault. And then you get into personal growth, and you'll be like, oh, it's not their fault, it's my fault. Because people mistake responsibility with self-blame.
oh, 100%. Yeah.
And I want to tell you that it is not, my dear, it is not. And you need someone who can be objective with you. Go to a priest,
Amen.
go to a pastor, go to a coach, go to a healer, go to someone who will love you enough and hold space for you, so you can really see things for what they are. And the best way, it is like, if I can go a little bit deep into this, it's this double dissociation. Because when I work with my clients, I'm a hypnotherapist. When I'm working with so the CHT you see in my back, that is the clinical hypnotherapist. So what happens is, you watch this movie from the past, when whatever happened, and suddenly you're no longer watching the movie, you're inside the movie. Because again, hypnosis, right? We laugh, we cry watching a movie. Why do we laugh and cry? Because it's no longer shadows from the past. It is not shadows on the screen. It is basically you identifying with that character, and you're feeling whatever the character is going through. But if you can become the projector boy, like in olden days in India, I used to go watch a movie, and there was a projector boy up there, right? So the first time he watches the movie, and second time, and after that, he doesn't watch the movie. He just watches you watching the movie, right?
Yes.
It's double
Yes.
dissociation. He's not attached. And that is a place, if you can be as the observer, as the witness,
Yep.
watching yourself,
So
watching
good.
this movie from the past, you are like, oh, this is the big picture. This is the big picture. It is neither
Yes.
good nor bad. It
It
is
just
what it
is.
is. It is God's
Yep.
show. It's God's show. You are an
Yes.
actor and God is the director. That's it.
Yes. So good. So, so good.
Hmm.
Yeah. And things changed. Things did shift
Hmm.
when I made a different choice. 100%. 100%. Yeah.
That's what you had. You had the power of choice and you made the choice. And, and choice is an emotional thing because decision is mental. A new decision will give a new life. And to have that new decision, you need a new belief system.
Oh,
You
100%.
Your belief system has to, because it all begins with your belief system, and belief system is our unconscious mind where we have pleasure and we have pain. Okay, this hurts and this is fine, and we all want more pleasure and less pain. That's what we do.
All the time.
We're always trying to avoid pain, and we are trying to attract pleasure. And one of my coaches said this: the greatest misery comes from trying to avoid misery.
Yes. That's good. Yeah. For sure.
Yes, and it is your
Absolutely.
belief system, which is your BS. And I'm not going to spell BS for you because you know
Yeah.
what BS is, because that's what your belief system is. And if you created that, you can also change it.
Yeah.
I had
100%.
You can
No, I
change your belief system. And when you
absolutely.
change your belief system, suddenly you give yourself the permission to make new decisions. And these decisions will impress upon you to make the new choices, and those new choices will take you into a new way of thinking, a new way of feeling, a new way of speaking, a new way of behaviors, acting, taking action steps, and getting new way of results. Seriously, that's simple, but it begins with
Absolutely.
your belief system.
Well, and that opens up possibilities because as long as
Yes.
until you do that, you get to a limit and then there's no more possible. You can't see possibilities beyond where you are, where you've been. Um, and that's when people feel stuck, when you hear, oh, I'm stuck, or those feelings of stuckness, right?
Hmm.
And so that I believe is such a beautiful thing. That's one of the things that really lights me up, is when you see that belief system starting to shift and expand, and them starting to see through a little bit different lens, because along with that opens up possibilities. And once we can believe something is possible, it's really funny. Gosh, what was it? My husband and I were traveling, and and you talked about, and then we were in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and it's just the highways on the. Well, they're building even more highways on top of and you would think like there's no other way, and you see those bridges just hanging in midair, and you're like, how is that even possible, right? And
Hmm.
so it made the comment to him, it is so interesting how many things each day that we say or we think, even we may not voice them, that we think are not possible or say are impossible. And then you look at these ginormous pieces of metal, like I have no clue how they even got them up there, how they made them stay, because they haven't connected from one side to the other yet. So they're
Hmm.
just hanging there, suspended. And then you're like, wow, that right there is possible, right? So, and you
Hmm.
can take that to so many different levels, right? I mean, people have gone to the moon, people have every day, there's millions of things that are possible that we've never would have dreamed. And so I think that is something for me that really is beautiful and fun and exciting, is that once that belief system starts to shift and change and expand, possibilities open up. And that is truly when we can step into the things that God has for us, because God didn't create us. I say all the time, it is fascinating how amazing God created our bodies, our mind, because the things that are created, someone just thought that. They just had a thought. And then it was
Yes.
brought into creation. It was created. So it blows my mind how phenomenal we are created. I don't know that we will ever be able to truly comprehend the magnitude of amazingness around how cool it is, how we are created, how we are made. And so I think that right there is one of the things that's so exciting for me, is once that belief system starts to shift, possibilities start to open up, doors to open up, light bulbs start to turn on, ding, ding,
Mm-hmm.
ding, and there that light starts to shine. I'm like, yeah, that right there, that's what it's all about. That's when you
Mm-hmm.
start to see that badass inside. You're not looking outside anymore. You're like, wow, I can do some stuff. And that's so cool. Like, oh my gosh, it lights me. I love it. I love that.
Yes, it is all encompassing, all empowering, and it's not just around us, it is within us, because you cannot see anything outside of you if you don't have it within you.
Oh,
There might be,
100%.
yeah. So when you could witness that brilliance and appreciate it, you have to have that brilliance within you. Because I'll tell you, like a few years ago, God knows, maybe a decade ago, they decided to make a super fast railway or something between Los Angeles and San Francisco. And it is an engineering feat. It's not a joke, you know. Engineers have to come and make this high-speed railway between Los Angeles and San Francisco. And people brought it down and they stopped it, and we don't have it. You know why? Oh, it's wastage of taxpayers' money or whatever it was. It was a, you know, so that is what happens. The naysayers, you
Yeah.
have this brilliance within you, and someone will come and try to pull you down. It is those crabs in a jar. You can keep every insect in an open jar all by itself, and it will just stay there. And then you have crabs, and you can have millions of them. You don't even need to put a lid on, because if one tries to come up, the others will pull you down. So don't let that be your story. Take a chance
And
on yourself.
if I can also add, the crab is often our own selves.
Mhm, mhm,
So many times that naysayer is coming from within, which can
mhm.
be the most dangerous of all. And I just want to, echo what you're saying, like anything is possible. And I believe, and this is just a very personal belief, that our intuition, that first little hit that we get, we're like, oh yeah, that, God's talking to us. I think that's why we have that intuition. God is speaking. But when
Mhm,
we don't move, when we don't take action, and we
mhm,
don't do the thing, we sit there a little bit, then what happens? Right? We start getting talked out. That crab, whether it's from
mhm,
someone else, if we share it, just like you said, it's so important who we share our thoughts, our dreams, the things that God places on our heart. Those are sacred. And we have to really, really honor that space and be really intentional with who we share them with. Um, because yeah, starting to pull down. And so that intuition, the moment you feel it, you hear it, you know it. um People tell me, well, I can't hear God, and we do some exercises around that, because I'm like, you hear him, you're just not recognizing that that's his voice yet, because you don't practice enough. I have this story. It's like, when you're first dating someone, um and you go to a party with them, and they're like maybe calling you out from across the room, and it's really busy, like you don't hear them because you don't know them yet, right? So you don't recognize their voice. Girl, I've been married almost 37 years. My husband, there is not a room, there is not a crowded space that he can walk into, or I can walk into, that we can't hear one another. I know him and he knows me, like, he just does, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we've spent 37 years listening to one another's voice. And I can find him in a crowd. I can hear his laugh. Well, I laugh really loud, so that one's really not fair. But you can hear me in a crowd laugh, but I can hear his voice. I can feel his presence, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we were dating, it might take me 3 hours to find the dude, or he might take 3 hours to find me. It's the same thing with our
Mm-hmm.
intuition, with hearing God, with, if we don't practice, if we don't get in conversation, it's not that we don't hear him, it's that we don't recognize that that's his voice. And so I really, really invite my client, we kind of practice around, is it that you don't hear them? Is he not speaking? Or maybe we just need some practice around what does it mean to lean into your intuition? So I just support that so much, that don't let the crowds pull you down, and really discern, is that an outside crab, or are you pulling on your own leg and pulling yourself down? Don't be the crab that pulls yourself down either. Yeah, so good. I
Yes.
love that, Coach Keya.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for sharing that and mentioning intuition, because there are three voices. One is intuition, your inner voice, and
Yes.
intuition comes in as a feeling. It's a feeling, and
Yes.
it's expansive. It's possibilities. There's another voice that is our ego talking, which is our intellect. Oh, I know this. I did this. It's our ego talking. And
Yep.
ego, which is our conscious mind, it has a few aspects. There's logic. Mark Twain said, never argue with a stupid man. He will beat you down to his level and prove it with experience. Okay? Logic. Reasoning. Oh, but what if? What if? Heckling, right? Reasoning.
Yes.
Decision making. Analytical abilities. We need this in the
Yep.
engineering field, like when you are maybe even
Oh,
cooking a dish, because I love to cook. You can apply all of this, and your willpower, which is only 10 to 12% of who you are. And then you have your instinct, which is all about survival. Like when you watch a game and you see these kids running around and playing, they're not thinking. There's no intuition, there's no intellect. Their body knows it. It's 100% survival. You just
yeah.
know that there is something behind you. You just know, like, I would be driving and I would reach out and grab my son's foot sticking out of the car seat, and because he's trying to beat his brother or something they have, and they're doing it quiet because mommy should not know. And my son would say, how do you know? I said, mom has eyes in the back.
Yes. Yes.
She has eyes
Yeah.
in the back of her head. You cannot escape mom. Okay. So that is your instinct. You have it in your gut. But intuition will always ask you to look beyond.
Always.
And so the naysayer within you is your doubt. And I'll describe what doubt is. Doubt is like a worm. Before this GMO and pesticides, it used to be inside an apple, inside a fruit. So outside it's really nice and juicy, red and shiny, sparkly. And you take a bite, ooh, what is it? And there's a bug inside trying to come out. Doubt is that worm that will eat you up from the inside, and outside you're so pretty and whole. You don't do. And when you have doubts, you're not in integrity with yourself.
Yes.
Because integrity comes from the word integer. Integer means whole.
Yes.
You're whole, you're complete. And when you're not in integrity, and how do you know when you're not in integrity? You think something, you feel something else. But when your thoughts and your feelings align with each other, like your heart and your head, your thinking mind and your feeling mind, they are both in the same space, they're congruent with each other. You become unstoppable. You
Oh,
have no
yes.
doubts. And guess what happens? No one even doubts you. Like if you say, I want to eat Italian, no one says like, oh, you seriously want to eat Italian? You think you don't want to eat Mexican? And you'll be like, no, I want to eat Italian. They'll be like, all right, let's eat Italian. Tomorrow it'll be Mexican. But if you are not sure you want to eat Italian food, somebody will say Thai food, somebody will say Mexican, somebody will say Indian, and you'll be all over the place. And that's what happens because
Yeah,
you are not congruent with your own choice, your own decision. And that is where a coach, someone who can be objective with you, someone who's outside,
absolutely.
who's sitting in the projector box, can shine the light so you can see your own brilliance, your own badassness. And you saw it in action today, how Tammy called me out and I was ready for it, but I just needed her to say, Coach Keya, that's who you are. And I'm claiming it.
Yes, love it.
You saw it live in action, and that can be you. That can be your story. So before we wrap up today, and I know we will have too many conversations with Coach Tammy, and you will learn so much more. But what else would you like to leave our friend here with who's listening in to this conversation? Before you tell us how they can get a hold of you, we will get into that, and that will all be in the notes, the description, everywhere you can find her, and I'll also spell it out for you. But what else can you? So this becomes like a
Yeah.
complete package for them today.
So I just want to share real quickly. So it's really interesting. You started by what kind of was my catalyst, what started me. And we talked a lot about choice and being intentional. And I know you talk a lot about happiness. And so I want to share just real quickly. So last year, my baby brother, I basically raised him. We won't get into all that of the whys or whatever, but so he was very much almost like my son. It was a really interesting relationship. He unexpectedly passed away and knocked me off. So I stepped away from coaching for a little bit. God has a really beautiful way of giving us what we need. So our daughter had a baby right at the same time, and they were not, well, the month later, she was pregnant and they couldn't find childcare. And so because I own my own business, I was able to take care of the clients I had and not step into new contract and go and take care of this little new life for 6 months and heal my, not completely heal, a grief like that. I don't ever want to mislead anyone. It takes a long time, or can. Everybody's for me is taking a long time. So I stepped away and I have stepped back in, which is how Coach K and I have even met, is because I'm like, okay, it's time. It's time for me to get back to the people I love, the work I love, doing what God has me to do. And last week I kept having things felt hard last week. And I realized it was coming up on the anniversary of my brother's passing. And that was on the 29th. So what, 3 days ago. I don't know what, if y'all are like me, the days just,
It's
I
full
have to have
moon.
a
It was a full
calendar.
moon. Yeah,
It was the
September
full
29th
moon.
was a full moon too.
The
Oh,
full moon.
yes.
So
Super moon.
that was a year since he passed. And I do still have some sadness. I'm sad he's not here. I'm sad he hasn't met my littles, because we have grandbabies now and they would love him and he would love them in the flesh, right? He would love to be here. And I selfishly miss the physical of him being here. But today, like, I'm so happy being here, genuinely happy. This is not a fake happy. I am genuinely. We spent the weekend with 2 of our grands and got to see one of them. He's almost 4. Got to see him play soccer and got to love on them. The other one's 7 months. We drove home. I got to be here with Coach K. I get to be here with you. I am genuinely, this lights my heart up. I'm genuinely happy. And so the reason I share that is I think sometimes we think, or our belief system is that if something really shitty happens in our lives, then we just have this shitty thing. And so then we just feel shitty or we just feel bad or whatever the thing is. But I really, really want to invite you to start seeing if maybe there's a possibility to believe something different. That something really shitty can happen, because it's going to. We're going to have some really bad, some things that just, they're not great happen. But there's really beautiful, fun, fantastic, amazing things that happen right along beside them. And we can be sad. I'm never gonna, I think I want you to experience and process all the things, because I'm not about just being happy all 24 hours of the day. That's a lot. But feel the feels. But is it possible something really shitty, and I'm sorry, Coach Gary, something really
It
shitty
is.
can
You
happen?
call things what it is. You can call it feces, you can call it crap, but it is still what it is. You can call it caca or poo poo. It
But something
is.
really beautiful. And don't allow that really shitty thing to keep you from missing out on the beautiful things that God gives you and the beautiful, amazing badassness that is inside of you. So if you need to grieve, grieve, however that looks and however long, because I need you to know I'm still grieving. My heart is broken that my brother is not here. It's broken. I don't know any other way to tell you except that it is shattered in a million pieces. But my life is amazing and my life is beautiful, even though this really, really awful thing is still right there too. So if I could leave you with that one thing today, is to, if that is something you've grown up with or that's something you're struggling with, I just want to invite you to honor that, but don't miss out on all the amazingness that's inside of you and around you. And if you need someone, again, be very intentional with who you choose. That's a sacred part of you, so sacred and so needs to be so honored. But I invite you, step in with me, step in with Coach Keya, step in with a priest, step in with a preacher, step in with someone that helps you honor both sides. Because girl, or guys, I'm sorry, I work with mostly women, but I invite you, don't miss a moment of this amazing, beautiful life that you've been gifted. That would be my words, Coach Keya.
Okay, now that you said that, I have to share something else because we don't know which breath is our last breath. My mother passed away at the end of 2009, and not a day goes by when I don't miss her. And I'll tell you why I miss her so much is because I'll get an aha and I'll be like, oh, that's what mom was saying back then. I
Absolutely.
nearly every day, it has not slowed down. It has
Yeah.
not slowed down or softened. And but that's what she was trying to tell me. Oh, that's what she meant. You will always miss someone you love.
Yeah.
But here is the beautiful part about love. Love lives on.
Always.
Yesterday, I was visiting a friend and I saw her kid before she went to school. And now she's like 8 years old. And I saw her picture. I'm like, man, she's like a young lady already. And your kid will start going to daycare. Daycare, elementary school, middle school, they'll start thinking, girls or boys, high school, and they'll go to college. We are always at crossroads in our life, in our relationships. You lose one job, you get another job. You give up one town, you go live in another town. You give up one home, you get into another home. One relationship morphs into another relationship.
Yeah.
And like, I'm a divorced woman. My ex is still
Yeah.
family.
I love
My ex is still family. He's just not my husband.
that.
Like he's traveling, he sends me pictures. Right now I'm sitting in his home. This is his home around me. My kids are over here with me. I don't even live in this town. You can, you have to honor every part of you. You have to honor every part of you, the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is all life. And if you're going through a challenge that is itty bitty, then you'll have itty bitty goodness waiting at the end of this challenge. The
Yeah,
lesson is
that's true.
itty bitty, the learning is an itty bitty one. But if you have a deep, 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 deep pain that you're going through, and you receive the lesson, you receive the learning, you come out with so much victory, so much joy, so much empowerment. My loss of my job, my kids are all adult citizens now. Loss of my marriage. I went through bankruptcy. I went through divorce, death. I wrote a book called Adapting. All the people I loved so much who were part of me, and I didn't even know there was a life without them possible, they moved on. I have written 11 books, and one of them is called Adapting. And it's a journey into liberation. Because this love lives with you. It just changes its form. It
Yeah.
just changes its form. But love is love. Love lingers through all lifetimes. And I have the ability to see that because I sat with it.
Yep.
I did not deny it. I did not try to run away from my misery. I did try to run away from my misery, but I did. My kids were my anchor. My kids were my anchor. I did not have the luxury of being like, oh, I'm so depressed, like, I'm going to smoke or drink or whatever. I had to work with it. I had to work through it because that was my purpose in this lifetime.
Yep.
Like, if I ever tried to stray, God like picked me up because he's the puppeteer, the ultimate director says, no, 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 lady, no, 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 girl, that's not where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be here.
Yep.
And you stay anchored. And I have been in this business for 18 years now, and every year I have at least 2 or 3 coaches. Right now I'm in 4 programs because everybody brings in a different flavor.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you need a mom, you need a dad, you need a brother, you need a sister, you need an uncle, you need an aunt, you need a grandparent, you need a grandma, you need a neighbor, you need one.
Yeah.
So why not have 4 coaches because everybody's bringing in their own flavor and I need all of it. But
Absolutely.
get started with something.
Absolutely.
And yeah, because the journey of 1,000 steps or 1,000 miles begins with the first step.
Starts with
That
one.
first step.
Yeah.
And so tell us, Coach Tami, and tell me that you love Coach Tami. Yes. And you would love to meet her and have just a conversation with her, have a quick connect with her. So how do people find you?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so social Tami R Castillo. I also have a fun Facebook group, Say Yes to Your Inner Badass, Resilient Women Embracing Dreams and Success. Come on over there if that resonates with you. I do have you can check me out at sayyes2itall.com, which right now is just a retreat that I do once a year to Costa Rica, if that's something you want to check out. But really connect with me on social. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Tami R Castillo. And yeah, and if the Facebook group resonates with you, we would love, love, love to have you there. So say yes to
And
your
this
inner
is,
badass.
yes, saying yes to your badass. And I recently found out you don't have to be on Facebook to be part of a Facebook group because a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to be like, I don't want to shop in Walmart. I'm like, why? What's wrong with Walmart? Go shop anywhere. I don't want to shop in Walmart. It's like, I want to be on Facebook. You want some change in your life? Oh, I don't want to shop on Amazon. That's another thing I hear people say. I'm like, don't. I'm not asking
Yeah,
you to, but you can still be part of this group. And
absolutely.
it's free. And you get
Totally
daily
free.
tips, daily drips. You get to be held and you get to unravel and unleash the inner badass in you.
Come
Because the
on
world
over. We
is
would love it.
waiting, not for someone like you. The world is waiting for you.
Absolutely. Come on. I'd love to have you. And this has been so great. Thank you, Coach Keya. I can't wait until we connect again. You're amazing. If y'all are not connected, I know you're connected with Coach Keya. You wouldn't be here on her podcast, but check her out and all the things. She is brilliant and amazing. Love you so much.
Love you too.